I'm here with little E, and he's going to help me demonstrate how you can actually teach your horse to have better manners around food, or how you can prevent any bad behavior with food or treats starting in the first place. So the first thing we have to understand is that food is a very powerful motivator. It's a very powerful reinforcement. And a reinforcement means something that increases a behavior. Now, to understand how this works, how we can use food, and also how food can actually start to cause those bad behaviors and why it has the reputation of potentially making horses bitey or pushy or nippy, is we need to understand the concept of more of the last thing. So this is an idea or a principle in training that when something works for the horse, when a behavior works and it gets him what he wants, whether that's a reward like our food that we're offering, or whether that's a release from the pressure, he's going to continue to do more of that last thing that worked for him. So how this works against us, how this kind of happens a lot of times without us even realizing what's going on with food, is we go to give our horse a treat, and maybe we give it to him over the fence or outside of his stall. So he comes up and he stretches his nose towards us to get the food, and we give it to him. Or maybe we hop off after a ride and we have treats in our pocket, and he reaches around and nibbles our pocket a little bit, and we pull out the treat and give it to him. What happens is we're accidentally or we're unknowingly reinforcing all those behaviors of coming towards us with the mouth to get food, of nibbling our clothing, or of crowding us in order to get the food. So what happens if sometime maybe we don't have the food, or we're slow to bring it out of our pocket, or we start to think that maybe we don't really like that nippy behavior or that lipping of our clothing, and we start to withhold the food, what we can begin to see is the horse will do more of what worked for him in the past. So before, where he was just lipping or maybe nibbling a little bit on you or on your clothing, now he might see if, can I bite? Will that get the food? Or can I get even more pushy? Maybe if I come a little closer and I push with my nose, will that get the food? Or it could even escalate into some frustration behaviors, like maybe the ears go back and they get a little pushy. And that's how food gets the reputation for causing these behaviors. It's not that the food itself causes these bad behaviors, but it's the way that food is given. If we're not aware of the behaviors that we're reinforcing, that we're basically rewarding the horse for as we give the food, we can make those behaviors worse. And again, that's usually with food. It can be biting, it can be pushiness, nibbling on clothing, lipping us, all those sorts of things. Now, we can use the powerful motivation tool that food is, and the concept of more of the last thing to our advantage. And you probably already do this when you're training your horse to do other things. But how we use it with food is, first, we have to be aware of what we want. So what do we want the horse to do, and what are we going to actually reward him for? Sometimes it might be a distinct behavior. So maybe we want him to walk forward, or maybe we want him to stop, and we know that we're going to reward that behavior. But if we have other ones that start to happen, if he stops, but then he does something like little E is demonstrating, and he comes towards you for the food, he's learning that that is part of what's expected, that when he gets the food, he needs to come towards you and grab it, and that's just how he gets it. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach him to keep his head forward and to be softer with the lips in order to take the food. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate here with little E. Now, there's a few things that, as I've worked with more and more horses doing that, and as I've been using food now for a longer length of time, I'm learning some things that seem to work really well for me and also for the people that I teach. So one of the first things, and of course I'm demonstrating here with a little guy, which makes it easier for me, but one of the first things is to stand next to the shoulder. So when you stand next to the shoulder, he has to bring his nose around to get the food. And if he moves, I can just adjust myself to stay at his shoulder. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start ignoring any time that he brings his nose towards me, or that he bumps me with his nose, or that he comes around and tries to grab the food pouch. But when he keeps his head straight, I'm going to give him food for that. Good boy. Now there's a few other little mechanical pieces that I'm doing here. You'll notice that when I give him the food, I'm stepping around and I'm giving it to him so that he's eating with his head straight, versus letting him put his nose back here and eat in this position. So he starts to learn that he always gets the food with his head straight. Good boy. Another thing that I could do, if you have a horse that is really quick with his head and doesn't give you as much time, is you can grab the halter as you step up here, and that prevents him from basically moving his head back towards you as you're bringing the food up. Good boy. There's always different kind of levels of the nosing behavior and of nipping and those sorts of things. So if your horse is already kind of aggressive with the food, or has already learned to bite or to nip or do those sorts of things, then you might have to kind of take this back even a step further. Maybe you'll do it outside the stall where you have some space in between you and you wait for calm behavior, and then you give him a little bit of food in the stall. There's lots of different variations that you can do to this, but the main concept is when we become aware, good boy, when we become aware of what the horse is doing in the moments before we give him the food, then we can start to change his behavior. We can start to avoid reinforcing and causing those bad behaviors, and we can start to make the good behaviors better. Now, what you have to remember is that it's going to take some patience, so you're probably not going to teach this in one session, and depending on the personality of your horse, the degree to which he's food motivated, and also his training history. So if he's had a lot of time where he has been reinforced for nipping, for biting, for those kind of behaviors, then it's going to take a little bit longer to train him to have better behavior. What you're seeing here with little E is probably maybe the third time that I've worked on this in 6 months or so. So you can see that he kind of understands it, but he's not very consistent with it. And he also has other people that are feeding him. Sometimes he has kids that are not necessarily supposed to, but that give him treats outside of supervision, and he gets reinforced again for some of those previous unwanted behaviors. When that happens, they're going to be more quickly to offer them again. The key takeaways from today's video are to first remember that when you are feeding your horse, whether you're doing it as a reward in training or whether you just want to give him a treat, you have to be aware that you are going to be reinforcing and you're going to be rewarding him for whatever he's doing in the moments before and as he receives the food. So make sure that you are reinforcing the correct behaviors, that you know what you want, the head being straight, not coming towards you, not nibbling you, and having soft lips, that you know what you're looking for, and that you wait and give the food in those moments instead of giving your horse food when he is being pushy or when he's lipping or when he's nibbling you. So just having those two things, being aware of this little piece of how horses learn and how behavior is changed, and then having an awareness and really thinking about what is my horse doing as I'm about to give him this treat, and is that a behavior that I would want to see more of, or is it something that I want to see less of? If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. And the best comments and where I'm in answering questions is on my blog at crktrainingblog.com. So thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you there.